You guys, I'm so excited to be coming to you now with this somewhat impromptu episode because my family has left the building all of a sudden. They're going for an errand, and so that leaves me with a very unexpected empty house. So I have some free time on my hands, like about an hour, I want to say. I want to spend this time with you talking about my knitting and what's been on my needles over the last few weeks because I haven't been here in a while. And so let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Plot Twist podcast. My name is Catherine. I am coming to you from, I want to say automatically Berlin, Germany, but that's no longer true. From the north of Germany, which is where we have, somewhat recently moved. So last year in late October, so it's not quite 6 months that we've been here. But I want to say we have arrived. I really felt it over the last weeks, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm coming to you from Germany, from the north of Germany, which is where I live with my husband and our 3 kids. This is a slow fashion podcast focusing primarily on knitting. I do still mend quite a lot, but I haven't talked about it on the podcast recent episodes, and I'm not going to today just because it's been a hole in a sweater and a hole in a sock, and mending that is pretty unspectacular to talk about. Also has been quite annoying. I'm being quite honest. I mend these things, but they pile up and then I work off the pile so that it stops annoying me, and then the next second someone comes running around the corner and says, "Mom, I have a hole in my shirt," and I'm like, "Yeah, cool." Thank you so much. Put it where the pile used to be. And it's not been fun mends, but just like everyday little things, so I haven't shared them. I will go back to sharing my mending, and if you have a mending project currently, I want to say on your needles or in your lap or wherever, however you want to put it, and you want to share, please feel free. Maybe I'll feel inspired to pick up some bigger mending projects. So I have been very productive and with regard to mending. It's pretty boring. I have positioned myself in a different corner today because ever since the move, I haven't, really found my spot here to podcast. So I've sat way over there on my couch, but since we have moved in, but we haven't, this is the living room, haven't remodeled or redone or even just painted the living room. There is still the old paint on the walls, which I wouldn't have chosen, and I never liked how it looked on camera and off camera, but it's not been so urgent that we would, make it a priority, but I wasn't really happy with it on camera. And also the lighting was kind of weird because it kind of came creeping in from the side when I was sitting there. So now I've positioned myself so that I'm facing the windows, but unfortunately today it's super murky, windy. We've had hail coming down twice and just like 10 minutes ago, and it's rainy, and then the sun comes out and you think it's the nicest day ever, and you step outside and like, oh, this is cool, this is windy. It's a typical day for like the transition from winter to spring. Why am I talking about the weather now? Okay, before I get into anything else, I am going to quickly show you or talk to you about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing did I wear it last time? No, the video before maybe. And again, I don't know, cold breath sweater or light breeze. Dang, either one of the two, by Hobby Locatelli. It's one of those 2 sweaters. It's knit entirely out of Cascade 220, and it's my favorite sweater. What can I say? It's a beautiful design. I think the colors came together beautifully, if I do say so myself. It's just exactly what I wanted. It fits exactly how I wanted it. And I've talked about it so often that I'm not going to talk about it again. If you want to find out more, like what yarns exactly, needle size, pattern, etc., click down below this video where it says more. And if you click on the arrow, a little menu will unfold or like open up, and then you will have a link there to my project page on Ravelry, and then you will be able to get all the info right there. And there are also going to be links for my Instagram, my Ravelry group. You can send me an email, my Ko-fi page, and all these things. Yeah. Okay. So now I want to show you what I've been finishing, what has been off my needles for quite a while, but there is a little preamble to that because I think my last video went up about 3 weeks ago, and I had just about gotten out of an illness then because I got very sick very suddenly because I caught a children's illness, and you know how these can, knock you out. So as I was recovering and like barely back on my feet, my daughter got sick, so I got her home, had her home for quite some time. So that meant I couldn't really recover. And of course, it had to happen that I immediately got the next, I ran into the next cold. I don't know. I got a really strong cold. It was strong in the sense that it lasted for so long and it just wouldn't leave. And I really realized how I really felt it in my bones, how I had nothing really to combat this cold. It was because I was just exhausted still, and I just wasn't back on my feet really. So it kind of dragged on, and I've been sick for, 6 weeks total. And then of course the entire family followed, and my husband got really sick, and also that kind of dragged on from one thing into the next, and we're still not feeling 100% or 80%, but we're on our way. My kids were ill. Now they're on Easter break, so everybody's home. So that was kind of hard to podcast. Then we went back to Berlin, to our old home, our old neighborhood for 4 days. And that ate away at my time that I might have otherwise invested, in recording a video. So therefore, this finished object has been lying around, ends woven in and blocked or washed, dried, and everything for a few days, a few weeks. And if you've been here before, you will recognize it as my alpaca stripy shawl. Look at it. It's so big. I don't even know if it really fits on camera. So there you go. I'm just going to try and show you. It's bigger than it's a bit bigger than my wingspan. And I'm it's bigger than 1.80 meters. It's wider than 1.80 meters, and that would be about 6 feet. So, wow. There you go. Wie mache ich das? So it's hard to show you. So this is the tip where I started, and then I worked my way in garter stitch with, 1 garter ridge in each color, and we're going to talk about the yarn in a second. And eventually I increased the stitches so that they were going to be wider. So 2 garter ridges each. And then I included a little lace panel at the back. Not at the back, at the end, before I bound off. And this little bit, and this is quite long. Oh man, I'm going to hold it up over my face. See, it seems like it's just a tiny little bit, but it's super long. From the corner to the tip of this little triangle that is a bit askew, it's this much. So it's also really super wide. And so that's why if you remember, last time I said, I want to keep 2 balls of this natural undyed alpaca color for the edging, for the lace. And that only gave me this much because I hadn't really taken into consideration or realized just how much bigger this shawl is than the one that I made before. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to link my last video here so you can, if you're interested, go check it out. And by the way, you know, for those of you who followed the story, because I was insecure about whether or not to gift the other shawl that I made, because I made the I-cord edging a little too tight and I thought it wouldn't work. And one of you suggested, and that's also what I thought, and that's what I did, to just give it to my friend and present it to her and say, well, if you want to have it, it's yours, but don't feel obligated. Like if you think it's not going to work and you're not going to wear it, then just be honest and I'll do something else with the yarn. And she loved it. And she took it home and wore it and she said it's perfect. So very happy that I just asked her. And I don't know why I made why I made this so complicated in my mind. But that's how that turned out. So I wanted for this section to go on longer. I would love it if it were like double the height. But then again, it was a stash buster project. So I had this lovely, beautiful, incredibly soft yarn lying in my stash. I've had it there for like 8 years, something in that neighborhood. And I wanted it, I did not want to give it away. So I wanted to use it up, but it wasn't going to become a garment. So I said, okay, how about a shawl, just like a freestyle shawl that I just knit, whatever I like and whatever feels right and nice. And I bought this. So this is the yarn is Fair Alpaca. That's how it's called. It's undyed, and I think it is from Germany as well. So it's like eco-certified and everything. And it did come very cheap, which is why I didn't realize at the time when I bought it that I had bought a much bigger quantity than I, needed for the project that I was envisioning it for, which I did not end up knitting. So, and I see now that I've woven in the ends but not snipped them off. I always leave this little bit hanging until after the wash so that when the yarn pulls in and blooms during the wash, the ends won't come poking out on the right side, but will remain on the wrong side. But now I have to remember and snip them off. But anyway, so that's my sequence. I have a whole lot of the 1x1, then the 2x2 garter ridges, and then this tiny little bit of the white, but the lace. And I must say, I really enjoy it. It's a beautiful, big shawl that I will, well, now it's hard with my sweater on, but I would wrap around myself something like this, and then you can, I don't know, squish up and have it all nice and warm. So that is my finished object. I knit this on a 3.75 needle, I think, and I don't know what that is in US terms now, but that's what I used, I think. And so this is the Fair Alpaca yarn, and the green I think is a Sunness Busted Alpaca, something like that I just picked up and held double because it was, which I didn't realize in the beginning, but it was too fine of a yarn. It's really like a lace weight. No, not a lace weight, but almost. So I held that double, and somehow it worked out so that it was almost the weight of this light color, but not quite. And the little discrepancy gives it a bit of texture that I really appreciate. So that, it can be really beautiful and also feel nice if one yarn of a stripy thing is slightly thinner than the other. Anyway, so that's my shawl. I am moving on from one alpaca project to the next. Maybe you remember that I've knit a Velcro vest designed by Andrea Mowry in like an orangey color and a brown, and a brown, and that was not really my colors. It's a beautiful piece. I loved wearing it, for the feel and the extreme lightweight and the warmth and just the style, but it wasn't right. I never felt good in those colors, and I don't think I ever looked good in those colors. So I gave it to a friend. Since I had bought the yarn in Denmark on a trip in 2020, I think. I don't know, before COVID. Anyway, so we went back to Denmark the next year, and I got, or the year after, it doesn't matter. And we got, I got the same yarn, so that is Isaya Alpaca 2. Here you go. And I got the same yarn, but in different colors. And then by that point, I knew exactly the amount of yarn that I would need of each color. So that was cool. That was easy. Now these skeins have been lying in my stash for 2 years. Yeah, 2.5. Today, I would again have chosen different colors, but I'm very excited about those. I finally cast on my Velcro, and I'm going to show you my progress. So this is quite a mess. You knit it from the bottom up, and I have to organize my yarn here, but I'm gonna try and show you what it looks like. This pattern goes all the way up, and here it goes. I hope you can see with the light being what it is. I cast on a size 3 on a 2.5 millimeter needle, and then once the pattern starts with these ridges going up, with the 2, or actually it's 3 colors, I switched to a 3.25 millimeter needle. Again, I don't really know now what this is in US terms, and I don't have my little kind of translation card with me. It's not a translation, it's conversion, right? But I don't have that cheat sheet with me. But if you can tell, you will have 5 light pink ridges and then 1 in a light gray. And that is where I would maybe go with a different color choice now, because this will repeat. So I will be repeating 5 pink stripes and a light gray, throughout the entire piece. And I now think, and especially with this murky light, it's really hard to see that, there isn't a lot of contrast there. So now I would have chosen a different color. Then again, when I went into my stash and I pulled out a different yarn, so this is 50% alpaca, 50% wool, and I pulled out 100% wool because for that one stripe, I figured, it doesn't matter. I did have like a darker purple, also a little bit heathered, so it would have worked, and it did, but I felt that the light was a better choice than something darker. So I did not change my plans, but kept with that initial plan. And I'm going to show you the colors. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of crinkling involved because I didn't even bother putting it into a project bag, but just left it in the paper bag that it came in from the store. So that's this very dark gray that I got. And then I can show you what the color is. Not show you maybe, but tell you. The color is called 4S. I think it's an undyed color. Then the contrast color is this beautiful light pink. And contrast color 2, so the one that is only repeated every once in a while, is this light gray. This color is number 61, and this light gray also has like a weird name. It's color E2S. So I think those E colors are always undyed. That's how I figured, but it doesn't matter. So it's all Isaya Alpaca 2. This is my little color palette, and I hope you could see, and I'm super happy with it. It's a slow going project because this twisted, so these vertical ridges in the dark gray color always have a little twist to them, and then when you knit the contrast color, you will only slip those stitches. So it's a slip stitch pattern, and I feel like slip stitch patterns are always kind of slow. In fact, I do not like slip stitches, and for this project I can deal with them, and I think it really looks very nice, and it's a fun knit. It just takes a few minutes. And maybe it's a good thing there are no sleeves attached, because that would, it would take a while. But slip stitches for me are always, they make my knitting very slow. They stop me. I don't like the rhythm of slip stitches at all. And Andrea Mowry was kind of the queen of slip stitches for a while, right? With her shifty and night shift and the shift cowl. And at the time I knit the shift cowl, and I did not enjoy it at all. I really only continued knitting it so it would be off my needles, because this constant slipping of stitches and then slip two, knit two, slip two, knit two, that drove me absolutely insane. If you love your slip stitches, go for it. It's always really beautiful patterns that come out, but the process is not for me. But here it's just, here I can manage, right? Somehow there is enough of a rhythm to the knitting that I enjoy the knitting. It's not just that I can deal with it, but I enjoy it. And I'm not in a rush. I wanted to cast this on. I wanted to cast on another sweater quantity from my stash, and I wanted to go from one sweater, which I finished, to the next, because I just love knitting sweaters. I don't mind that it's a very fine yarn. I'm a fingering weight sweater person. I love doing that. I don't mind the many stitches and the many rows and the thin yarn at all. And on the contrary, I prefer it to, I would not go for bulky or chunky weight. And worsted like this was so fun to make, but I would not often gravitate towards knitting a sweater in this yarn weight for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's a phase of life, but yeah, so I don't mind that it takes a while, and I want to keep on working on it, maybe every day, but definitely a few days a week. But I don't force myself to only knit on this, because sometimes I just realize that I'm painfully slow on it in the evening when I'm really tired, and then I just want to go for something else for a half an hour before I go to bed, and I think that's perfectly okay. And what I gravitate towards, hold on, crinkling, in these moments when I want to knit on something really mindless, not that this pattern is complicated in any way, but if I want something kind of autopilot-y, then I grab my French supply bag and pull out my scrappy socks. And I told you in the first episode that I filmed this year that I was so surprised when I looked at my projects completed on Ravelry from 2023 that I knit, I think it was 12 pairs of socks, because I would have guessed it was way less. And then I thought, was that the best use of my knitting time? Because I don't know, because I enjoy knitting socks and I get on a sock kick, but often I'm not. And I think in terms of a finished object, other pieces also give me more joy. But I think the reason why I knit so many socks last year was because we moved, and because my entire life was really turned upside down, and because I needed something just to hold on to and not think about anything at all. And that was socks for me. and they did the trick, right? And thank God for sock knitting, you know. But this year I wanted to be more conscious about where my knitting time went, and not shy away from a little bit of a knit that requires a little bit of brain power, you know, because I figured it would make my knitting overall much more enjoyable if I just got over myself and invested a little more energy, now that I have it again, in you know, really thinking about a pattern. So I thought, because we were going on a trip to Berlin and I was going not to be the driver but the passenger in the car, and that meant knitting time, you know. And I figured, do I want to really cast on a sock? Is this really what I want to do? Because then I commit to finishing that sock. I mean, not that I have to, but I want to. And I could also just dedicate my time to my Velocore and knit on this monogamously and get more progress done. And then I thought, no, I don't want to do that and be kind of tied to one project in the car, where it can a project that can be a little fiddly. And I cast on scrappy socks. And I have to say, I'm glad I did, even though, as scrappy socks have a tendency of doing, they turn out differently than I thought. So I went for, and this is what I have left, so it's not going to be enough, which is why they're really going to turn out differently, but that's a different story. So I pulled out my leftover, this is like a commercial sock yarn, I don't know now, Lang yarns, probably like a light pink tweed yarn, okay? I had a little bit of that left, and I thought it was going to be enough. It's not going to be. And then I pulled out little leftovers from my stash that were all going to be in the pink, purple, blue, but not really blue, but like in the pink and purple family. And that was something like that. Now here there's some blue and green in there, but because I've knit much of the pink already. But yeah. And then I had this, which was something else entirely, but I threw it in nonetheless because I figured maybe you're gonna need it. And I cast those socks on with 2.25 millimeter needles, 60 stitches. I went for 2x2 ribbing for the cuff, and I knit them, you say concurrently, so not at the same time as in on the same needle, but I knit them one stripe here, one stripe on the other sock. And that's what they look like. It's hard if they're on the needles to show you, but I'm going to try. So there you go. That's what they look like. And they have their heel, which is because I realized I was going to run out of the pink, which I knit in this gray with like neon-y speckles. I don't know if you're going to see that. So that's one, and that is the other. And that's really that. I think I'm done with gusset decreases, so that means now I have to go just a little bit further, just a handful more stripes, maybe 3, 4 of the contrast color, and then I can put in the toe, and it's not going to work with the yarn that I have. And that's really annoying because I want it to finish with this pink yarn on the toes. So since I don't really have a substitute, I mean, I could always go with this color for the toes, but it's not what I wanted. And also it would look a little weird if only the cuff was in a different color. So I don't know that I would have made that choice had I known it was not going to last, the yarn, you know. But I'm debating getting another ball of yarn, you know, in this colorway, even if that annoys me, because that was a project meant to diminish my sock sock yarn. My sock yarn stash, so my sock yarn scraps. You know what I mean. And then you have to, go buy more. So that doesn't really make sense. But also it doesn't make sense finishing a sock in a way that you don't want to wear it in the end. I went for such a small little leg. It's just 3 contrasting stripes. Because of the amount of yarn, I should have really gone for shorty socks where you just have the cuff and then immediately the heel. But that didn't really feel right. So I'm going to see what I see. I'm going to have to decide what I do with these. But for what it's worth, these are 2 socks on my needles. And they were a lot of fun. Good companions on a car ride. And, here and there. There wasn't a whole lot of knitting time on our trip, except for the car and then a few minutes really left and right. So, yeah. We'll see. So time will tell. These socks are going to tell me what they want to become and how they want to look, and I'll keep you posted. Okay, and then hold on, this is not right. And then I pulled another project out of hibernation. Totally inspired, I have to say, by by Chelsea of Chelsea Makes and Legacy Fiber Arts. So that's the one and the same Chelsea. And she is knitting on her jelly roll blanket. In fact, she finished one and cast on the next, and she's been knitting on those like a crazy person, I think. So since I had been debating pulling out my jelly roll blanket for a while, because it's just been on hiatus, it's just been on my yarn shelf, and I just needed a little bit of time away from blanket knitting, and wanted to collect a few more scraps and sort through my colors and, then dive back in. And I felt that this project was coming nearer and nearer as I was working through my languishing works in progress. And I felt it coming, I knew it. I was about to pick it up again, and no, I did. But just yesterday, I had it with me on the trip because I went someplace for 4 days and I took 3 knitting projects, because you need one and then you need another if you're in a different mood. And I cannot even tell you how often I've gone and I had the wrong needles, or I forgot something that I absolutely needed for that project, and then I couldn't continue. So you have to have a spare. You just have to. It's just common sense, isn't it? So I went with 3 projects, 2 of which I worked on, 1 of which I didn't. But I think that was the entire idea behind having a spare project. So I'm fine with that. And yeah, I'm going to show you my blanket, but sideways. And so I started you're just going to see it sideways, and I started at the bottom with the blue stripe and worked my way up to the orange. And I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to take you from there. Oops. There you go. So this is it. This is my blanket. And I've just put in this little bit. What is happening? I have put in this little bit of a gray stripe, or this there's a tractor going by. I think you heard that. So the beginning of this gray stripe. And I'm knitting on a 2.5 millimeter needle. This is fingering weight yarn. And I'm just putting in all the scraps that I have and minis that I have. I'm sort of sorting them by color. And this orange yellow stripe, that I just knit before, is one that I have to say I quite enjoy, but it gave me a bit of a headache because I don't usually do yellow or orange. It's just colors I don't at all gravitate towards. But for that reason, I had accumulated a handful of minis from advent calendars or swaps, and they're also beautiful. So I wanted to find a good project for them. So I thought if I put them all together, they're going to make each other shine more than in any of my other projects where an orange will always be kind of out of place or lost or I don't know what. So I put them all in here. And I mean, look at this. This is really fun. This looks amazing. And this yellow, there's such fun memories attached to that. So I put this in here and I'm so glad I did. But then I thought, now which color do I put in? Because I wasn't going to go for pink because the clash of orange and pink is not one that I enjoy. Then I thought green, I just had a green stripe right here. And so I worked through my little pile and I thought, okay, what am I going to do? What's going to look nice, but not like overly intentional? I want this to be a relaxed project, but I don't want it to look weird. Or weird to me. Like I don't want for there to be a stripe that I don't really like, and then I'm always going to be irritated by that a little bit. So yeah, I decided to go with the gray because I have a gray stripe down here, and that I thought might, calm the eye down enough that after that I could go for whatever color I wanted. And so that's what I'm doing. So this is my third, if you can see that, my third color that I'm adding in. And yes, this is Claire. She has wound this up for me. I haven't put this on the ball winder. I'm just knitting it as it is, and that works perfectly fine with this like small circumference of how do you call that? Like with that little skein, it works perfectly. And I have my little Stephen West bag. It says keep on knitting, kitten. No, West knits are the best knits. And I have his little what's it called? His little pin that I both got at I bought the pin, I got the bag at the workshop that I took with him, well, pre-COVID. Can't believe it's been that long. And it just holds, I don't know that you can really see, but it just holds my little stash for this stripe. And by now I have a feeling for when I will have enough yarn from one color for one stripe, so that, a little bit of this is going to be left over, but this is going to be enough, I think, for this gray stripe. If not, I have to go digging through my stash again. So this is what I'm working from, and then I have another bag where I've assembled the other colors for the other stripes, and I went through a moment I want to say a week ago, no, more than a week ago, a week and a half ago, it doesn't matter, but just recently, where I sorted through my colors, minis and leftovers, and like put the pinks together in one bag and the blues in another, and then the greens, and then the I don't know what. So this is all really ready to go, and I can then just decide on which color is going to come next, grab the bag, and just leave the rest where it is, so I don't have to schlep my entire mini stash around that I selected for this project. I'm in no rush to run through this, but I do want to make progress on this blanket, because it is about, I want to say, halfway done. I want to add, so this is 6 stripes. I think I want to add another 6 or 8. So that would be a nice size blanket, also like in proportion to how long it is. And my kids are growing up and we need more blankets. I just said to my husband, I don't know, a short while ago, that we need more blankets on the couch, because when we're all there, they're stealing my blankets, and I I can't have that and not have enough for everyone, you know. But I don't want to go buy them. I want to make them, obviously. So yeah, I want to show this blanket some love and maybe add a stripe and then let it sit for a minute and pick it back up, add another stripe so that it keeps growing. And maybe it would be a fun goal to have it done by the end of the year. That would be less than a stripe per month. No, adding the I-cord that I want to put on, so that's a big job. But like that would be about a stripe a month, and why not, you know? And I really, this year it's so interesting. I really don't feel the urge to buy much yarn. Not that there's anything wrong with you wanting to buy yarn. If you're, you know, if that's what you're doing and it makes you happy and you use it and you love it and you get inspired, I don't want to criticize that. But I really don't feel the need to order yarn all that much. I really don't. Because I feel very content, and maybe that's my settling into the new place. I think that's what it is. Hold on, I'm just gonna grab my knitting so that I can knit a little bit as we chat. But and I hope you also have your knitting so we can knit a little bit together. But I really feel very content with what I have, and don't want to bring, because as I've said many times before, the house is still, I mean, we can live in it, it's built, it stands, it's you know, but it's still very much a construction site in the sense that we have to still renovate so many parts of the house, and many are under renovation or construction kind of, so we only inhabit a small portion of the house right now, and the rest is still unfinished. So I'm really on the fence about bringing anything into the house for fear of overwhelm. And I don't feel like I need anything more in the house than what we have. And that's a nice feeling, and I want to hold on to that, because we were brought up, all of us, to always think we need more, but often we really don't. And I feel very content, and I'm very aware of it, that with the knitting that I have. So that's why I have finished so many projects that have been languishing for a minute, for quite a while, this year. So I picked up older projects that have been languishing, and I'm really happy I got them off my needles. I finally got to wear and use them, like the shawl, for instance, like my alpaca shawl, and the sweater that I finished before, my sea glass. And now I get to dig into my, like, an older sweaters quantity, and then I always have enough yarn to put in here, and I just feel how that is such a gift. I feel so blessed to always, without having to go shopping, have so many colors to play with, so many beautiful fun projects to turn to, you know, so many projects to really help me soothe my nerves and get through the day or deal with the world, and you know, and I feel really content with this. That's really the right word, really blessed and really content. And I don't have the urge for new things or other things. And I mean, there is a yarn festival that I'm hoping to go to this year. And if I manage, I will definitely buy something there. So, but I'm not against buying yarn, right? But right now I really don't feel like I need any. And that's such a good feeling. I'm just embracing where I am in that respect right now. And that's a really nice feeling. It's just a good feeling too, that I think has to do with us settling into our home and our house more and more and more. because of course that's a process. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's a huge psychological component to this. But yeah, so that's my making of the last few weeks. And I was very monogamous with my knitting before. So I've monogamously knit on my sea glass. I've monogamously knit on my shawl. And I made a point of not casting on other things because I wanted to keep this momentum going and not get distracted, but really be able and see the progress and see it and just finish things, you know, and without being in a rush, just slowly but steadily and with focus and intention. And that was good. I mean, I was on the fence about working on 3 things at once now because I haven't done that in quite a while now, in a few months. And I thought, is that going to affect my knitting? So am I going to lose steam on the projects then? Or am I going to abandon them? And is this Velour sweat vest now going to land in the corner and I'm going to pick it up in a year or a year and a half? But I figured it's okay to branch out with intention now and just, if I know the Velour is going to be a long and slow project for me, to allow myself to also work on another long and slow project and make it kind of a theme party, right? Not, again, like there's anything wrong with several projects at a time. Okay, so friends, I'm so happy that I got to chat with you. Tell me what you're working on or what your kind of momentum is right now. Are you finishing things? Are you working on long-term projects? Are you in sweater knitting mode, or are you knitting for summer? Because I'm not there yet, but now would be the time to knit for summer, right? I am happy I could hang out with you. Thank you so much for letting me hang out with you. And I wish you happy knitting and hope to talk to you soon. I'm at the end of my row. Take care, happy knitting, and I'll see you soon. Bye.